This is Dusty Bosco. Excuse me because I have my newborn in my hands, so I apologize if you hear him make a sound. So I'm presenting today on my composer, Countess Stephanie Wurmbrand-Stuppach Vrabely, and the piece that I'm presenting on is Melusine and Quell, Melusina at the Fountain. These are just a couple photos I've collected of her. The farthest one on the left is an oil painting by her. The middle one is the latest photo ever of her. And the one to the right is her and her sister. And that's important to remember. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. Again, here's just some... The one to the left is another really beautiful picture of her, and the one to the right is the only book written about her, which I actually tried to get access to, but it was almost impossible. It's in a library in Hungary, and I emailed the library to get a copy of it, but I never heard back. And then just two more photos of her. She's a really, really beautiful person, and I wasn't able to find very much on her, so what I was able to find, I wanted to put it in my presentation. This is just a obituary of her. Okay, so let's dive into her biography. So, Stephanie Wurmbrand-Stuppach, aka Stephanie Vrabely, led an accomplished life, widely recognized as a composer, touring virtuoso, pianist, and cultural writer. She ran in circles with Liszt and Brahms, among others, and supported the early efforts in Bartók in solidarity with her Hungarian roots. She was born in Pressburg, Pozsony, now Bratislava, Hungary, on December 26, 1849. Her father was a director of the Royal Hungarian Mail. Her mother was a painter and writer, a doctor of law, and the daughter of a huge politician in their country. So as far as her background in composing, so she showed really early musical talent without having lessons. She played the piano at age 5. And at age 11, she played all of Bach's fugues and preludes by heart and transposed them into every key. She released her first song composition at age 14 and later released a collection of 30 songs under the... Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, my baby just burped. Under the pseudonym Stephanie Vrabely. She gave concerts in Vienna and other major cities in Europe, and she was 16 years old when Liszt listened to her playing on the piano and began to teach her, and she was in Weimar I don't know if I'm saying that city properly. Okay, so remember we saw a picture of her and her sister earlier, so they were together famous componists and pianists of the period, and like I said before, they received lessons from Liszt, but also Brahms together. They gave concerts with Liszt in their early years, and then later they gave concert in several cities of Europe, solo and together. Or together. And then in 1864, she married Carl, I can't say that last name, the notable componist, pianist of the period, and follower of Liszt. Brahms was the best man on their wedding. Their marriage, unfortunately, did not last long, and they were divorced soon. And then on July 6, 1869, she married Count Ernest, and that's where she got the Wurmbrand-Stuppach, and his brother was Aldemave. Stephanie was also a writer, and her pen appears in various newspapers. And what's really cool is that the Duke honored her the Silver Medal of Merit for Art and Science. So her style, just from what I've gathered, to be honest, there's really not a lot on her, which is really unfortunate. I think the best source of her would be her biography, the one I showed you, the pink book in the beginning. But I wasn't able to get access to that, and they don't have a copy online, so I would need to get the physical copy. But from what I gathered, which was really not a lot, it appears that some of the influence on her styles would have been Johannes Brahms, Franz Liszt, Carl, Johannes Sebastian Bach, Peter Cornelius, who it talks about in her obituary, and her sister Seraphine, who she was a composer with. And then Bela Bartók, who during Hungary was one of the revolutionary composers at the time. And then she wrote in a lot of genres, so she wrote piano works, piano sonatas, elegy, anthem, concert pieces, songs, march, quintet, dances, and violin sonatas. So the explanation of Melusina Quell, Melusina at the fountain. So what kind of piece is this? So the only piece I could find of it is a beautiful and evocative movement. It comes from the larger set entitled, I can't say that. So the beautiful Melusina. These musical illustrations depict scenes of the legendary water nymph, but the more romantic and less frightening version that was particularly popular in the Romantic era period. The early movement reads, and that's it in Hungary, or I mean, excuse me, in Hungarian. And then the English translation is the water nymph alone, lost in dreams, rests at her spring, which bubbles up from dark stone grotto. Why did the composer write it? Again, there's not a lot on her, but given the title and theme of Melusine Quell, it's possible that the Countess was inspired by the medieval legend of Melusine. The legend tells the story of Melusine, a water nymph or mermaid who is often associated with fountains, water sources, and natural settings. Composers have frequently been drawn to such mythical and poetic subjects for their compositions, allowing them to explore themes of nature, love, and the supernatural. Without specific information from the composer herself or contemporary sources, we can only speculate about the precise reasons for choosing this particular subject matter. However, it's likely that Stephanie found inspiration in the rich imagery and emotional resonance of the Melusine legend and sought to express her own artistic interpretation through music.